going on, you guys? This is Bart coming to you from TST Industries in Florida with another episode of TST Garage. In the shop with me today is a 2013 to 2018 Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R, also known as the 636. On these particular bikes, I feel like the controls that come from the factory leave a lot to be desired, especially the levers. You see here, the full hand lever for the clutch has no adjustment, kind of unrefined looking, and albeit it is adjustable, the brake side also leaves a lot to be desired. So I'm going to show you how to install the Womet-Tech Evos Shorty Levers on this bike. They are made of really nice quality 6061 aluminum, anodized for really great longevity. They do come in a black on black with red adjuster color combination. That is our stock combination that we stock them in. But if you choose, you can get yourself an adjuster set in a choice of your color. We have several of them in stock, and follow another one of our videos that shows you how to change the adjuster to customize the look a little bit further. Since I'm really just showing the installation procedure on this bike, I'm not gonna change the adjuster color. We're just gonna go with the red for this installation, and I'm really just dying to get started, so let's do that. All right, we're gonna begin by turning in the clutch cable adjuster. I want to make sure that we'll be able to extract the clutch cable out of this assembly. So we go almost to bottom out until the last rotation that permits us to get the slits here aligned. And then on this particular bike, the clutch cable is loose enough that we could just extract it right now. If you have a newer bike with a cable that is stretched less than this one, it'll probably require that you flip this perch around in a later step, and then you'll be able to get it out. On this particular bike, like I said, it's loose, so we'll take it out. Now I'll grab a 5mm Allen and loosen the 2 Allen screws here that hold my perch on. Actually found that removing this perch does 2 awesome things for me. 1, I'm able to show you guys better what I'm doing, and 2, it makes this entire process a lot easier. So now the perch is off. Be careful, there is a clutch switch here. Press the locking feature and unplug it. Very simple. If your clutch cable was tougher to take off than mine, then once you take this off, you could flip it around and you have more leverage here to get it out, and that can potentially help you. All right, now we have this off. We have our pivot bolt that goes through here. It's a carriage type bolt, so the head is fixed in the perch. We don't need to worry about holding that while we take this nut off. The nut is a 10mm size. We can either take off these 2 screws for the clutch switch and remove the switch and be able to get a socket on it, or the way I like to do this is just be patient and get a open-ended wrench on here, and just with patience go quarter turn by quarter turn, and that actually takes less time and limits our possibilities of damaging stuff. I have had some of these bikes where these screws were pretty stuck in the perch, and the Phillips feature would just round off, and then we have a problem. So unless the switch is bad, I don't like to touch it. Once the nut comes off, we just push this pivot bolt through, and now our clutch lever comes off. Now on this clutch lever, there's a bushing inside. We will want to extract this bushing because we will reuse it on our new lever. This bike has been in service for a while, so the bushing is a little bit dirty. I'm gonna clean it off and re-grease it. I'm also going to clean the pivot bolt and also re-grease that. I like to grease all of my bearing surfaces on the entire assembly. And if the bike's been in service for any appreciable time period, it will attract a lot of grime on all of the surfaces. So cleaning them will also extend the life cycle of all these parts and make your controls feel better. So now that I have all that cleaned out, I'm gonna grab some grease. I'm gonna apply a little bit of this grease to the bearing surfaces on the inside that will interface with my bushing and my lever. And then I'm going to apply that same grease to my bushing. I'll grab our new lever, get the bushing fed through the pivot hole. Just have to make sure that I have enough on the inside of this bushing so that when I jam the pivot bolt through there, it'll actually get greased. And now we're basically going in the reverse order of this assembly onto the perch. Very simple process. Get my pivot bolt through. Just be careful here on this step. Don't press until you have alignment. And before I press all the way through, I like to move it around. I jammed a little bit of grease in there. I'm going to distribute it as I push it down and wipe some of the excess off. Grab the nut and thread that back on. Now I'm just going to tighten it down all the way to the bottom, and then we'll be ready to get onto the bike. Now I'm at the bottom, just gonna give it a little bit more of a tightening here. Just want to make sure I didn't crimp this perch around the lever, and in fact it is still moving nicely. So we're good here. I'm just gonna clean off any excess grease that I may have made a mess with. And back on the bike we go. If you still have your stock bars and clip-ons on the bike, there is a punch mark that aligns with the slit, the interfacing of the two surfaces of perch and the clamp. That's where the punch mark is supposed to be for alignment. Now you get these guys tightened down. Obviously, if you have different needs as far as ergonomics go, that punch here for alignment is really just a suggestion. That's where it comes from the factory, but it does keep distances from your controls to the fairings really nice. You may think about tweaking that to your liking, but if you do, just make sure that you don't have any interference between any parts. All right, let's get our cable back into the lever, into the adjuster. And now we have to back out the adjuster until we tighten up on that cable. All right. Now I've left a little bit of slack here. You do not want it totally tight. The reason is that cable does tighten up sometimes at full lock extensions from side to side. I think I have a little bit too much in there. I'm going to back up a little bit more. Just want to make sure that moving your bars doesn't put tension into your cable and therefore removes pressure from your clutch plates. You don't want that. All right, that's pretty much done here. Everything's good to go. I'm going to give it once over, and now it's just a matter of adjusting this adjuster to my liking. Now there are 6 different levels of adjustment, outboard being the closest to the bar, inboard being the farthest away. Whether you're a 1-finger or 2-finger person or a whole hand person, these will do the job. Just adjust it to your liking and make sure that you go around testing it enough before you get yourself into a stressful situation where you may have to react and you don't have time to be adjusting yourself to your new controls. Give it time, be careful, and ride safe. On the right hand side, we have the brake. I feel that this is the easiest part of the whole thing. I'm gonna start with a 10mm open-ended wrench and remove the nut that is just under this pivot bolt. So straight through underneath, you have a 10mm nut. It does not have a locking mechanism within the nut. So once you break it loose, it comes off by hand. Just a simple flange nut. The flange goes towards the master cylinder. Once that's out, the pivot bolt is unlocked and we use a flathead screwdriver to remove that. At some point in this rotation, it'll just start skipping around and not advance outward anymore. And that means the thread is fully disengaged. And at that point, we hold the lever, we can move it around a little bit, and the pivot bolt comes out. And just be careful you don't yank anything here. Go forward during the removal. There is a small micro switch that reads the brake pressure, or rather whether the brake is on or off. We don't want to slice that button off of it. Just like on the clutch side, I'm going to clean my bearing surfaces. On this side, I also have the plunger for the piston inside. If you do go to clean it, make sure you don't yank it out. You don't want to break this seal. All right. Also going to clean the pivot bolt here. Once that's all clean, I'm going to grab some grease. Get my grease on my bearing surfaces, pivot bolt, and within my master cylinder. We are going to grab the brake lever. On the inside here, we do have an accepting feature for that plunger. It's within this brass bushing that is free to roll around in there. It is lubricated, comes from the factory lubricated, so you guys don't have to worry about that. You just have to make sure that this plunger actually ends up in that hole there. Sometimes during shipment, we will have this hole shift out of place or perhaps turn around. There is a slot here to fit a flathead screwdriver and get it turned back in the direction you need it to be. In fact, this line should be pointing towards the plunger. That makes the orientation of that hole ready to accept the plunger. So we start really by getting the plunger in there. And once that happens, we could align the rest of it. It's a little bit tricky sometimes, but you know you've done it when the hole on the lever and the hole on the master are not far from being concentric. If you have to press it too far in on the master, then you haven't aligned it. And also you can move it inboard and outboard, the lever that is, and see if the plunger follows. If it does, you're pretty much good to go. All right, be careful not to shear that button off, and you'll just have to press the lever a little bit towards the bar to make sure that this pivot bolt fits in. Once you feel the shoulder fit in and you get the threads to seat, you can start getting those threads in. Bottom this out, tighten it, and the nut, like I said, flange up towards the master cylinder. This nut locks the connection by preloading the threads. So we are going to hold the flathead end of this pivot bolt as we lock down the nut. Now clean up, make sure everything's nice and neat, no extra grease showing. Any extra grease showing will attract debris and dirt. We don't want that. All right, let's see how we did. Lock to lock, we have clearance. If we did not, my next step would be to adjust my master cylinder where it sits and make sure that I'm still comfortable on the bike. Another adjustment we could perform, like I showed on the clutch side, is the distance from the bar, outboard being closest, inboard being farthest away. I typically like it closer to the highest point because I'm a one finger brake person. But adjustable levers affords you the freedom to adjust to your liking. This is why this is such a great ergonomics upgrade. All right, you guys, this is about a 10-minute process if you're not yapping like I was. And it produces really nice effects here, I feel. If you feel the same way, or if you want to check out some of the other parts we have for this bike or any other bike that you may have in your stable, check out tstindustries.com. Link for the product here will be provided in the description at the bottom. Other than that, all I have to say is thanks for watching. Hopefully you'll subscribe, and then we'll see you at tstindustries.com. Ride safe.